vessels. It's been several weeks. How many commercial vessels, U.S. flagged, have transited?
Well, would you, Mr. Congressman, put civilian ships
The questions are not to me, Mr. Secretary, they're to you.
We have responsibly put military
The answer is zero.
ships first.
I reclaim my time. How many generals and admirals have you fired?
I don't know the exact number. But
You don't know the number. It's 8.
Massachusetts Congressman Seth Moulton confronted Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth over the now infamous Signal Chat leak, a controversy involving the sharing of sensitive military information on an unclassified messaging platform. What unfolded was more than routine oversight. It became a revealing window into how national security decisions are communicated and who is willing to take responsibility when things go wrong.
This is a gentleman from Massachusetts, Mr. Moulton.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Secretary Hegseth, I'd like to clarify a few important details for the record. When you texted the launch time for F-18s going into combat over enemy territory facing anti-aircraft missiles on an unclassified signal chat, did that launch time come from Central Command, yes or no?
I know what you're referring to, and there were no
It's a very simple question. Did it come from? It's a very simple question. Did it come from Central Command?
Well, in this committee, no way in which I communicate or what I communicate on a successful strike is something that I would share.
So you can't even identify the combatant command under which this operation occurred?
Well, everybody knows the.
Okay, so everyone knows the Central Command. So when Central Command sent you this information, did they send it on a classified system or an unclassified system?
Well, as you know, having served yourself, any way that the Secretary of Defense communicates or provides information in and of itself is classified and not to be discussed.
So what was the classification marking of the launch time when it was sent to you? Because DoD regulations require information on classified systems to be marked.
What was the classification mark time?
Yeah, what was the classification marking? Because
again, classifications of any information in an ongoing operation that was successful are not things that would be disclosed in a public forum.
You can very well disclose whether or not it was classified. It's not classified to disclose whether or not it was classified. And in fact, DoD regulations state that any classified information has to be labeled with its classification. Was it classified secret or top secret?
What's not classified is that it was an incredibly successful mission against the Houthis.
Okay, so it was classified. So are you trying to say that the information was unclassified?
I'm not trying to say
that's what I thought. You're not saying that. So you took classified information from Central Command that had a classification marking on it, because that's what's required by DoD regulations, and you put it on an unclassified system. So we're going to get a report in a few days from the DoD Inspector General. And if the DoD Inspector General finds what is pretty obvious, both to you smiling there in the witness seat and to all of us up here, that the information was, in fact, classified, do you plan to take any accountability for that?
As I pointed out at the time,
you said that accountability is back. Does that not apply to you?
As I said at the time, Congressman, there were no names, targets, locations, units, routes, sources, methods, no classified information.
Okay, so if it comes back that it is classified, will you take accountability or not? We've already established, you've already admitted that it was classified because everything you get from CENTCOM is classified. You just explained that to me. That's how you justified not answering the question.
Not what I said. I didn't confirm any classification or
okay, so if it is
what I know is that
will you take
everything I share, everything I talk about,
Mr. Secretary, does accountability apply to you or not?
Is classified whether I talk or not.
Does it apply to you or not?
Does what apply to me?
Accountability. You said accountability is back at the Secretary.
And you know what? The Houthis were held accountable for shooting at our
I'm just asking if it applies to
very
you.
Successfully.
I'm not asking about the
previous administration let our ships get shot at, and nothing was done about it. And thankfully, because of the skill and courage of our troops on the battlefield,
asking about
we actually put them in a place where they called for a ceasefire.
I reclaim my time. I'm just asking if accountability applies to you. It's a very simple question. We use leadership by example.
Of course, unlike, I serve at the pleasure of the president like everybody else does.
So it only applies to the president, not to you?
I serve at the pleasure.
You talked about the success of the Houthi operation. About how much money did it cost? How much money did you spend on missiles shooting at the Houthis?
Well, you'd have to compare that with what it cost.
I'm just asking how much did it cost?
Divert our shipping lanes around.
I'm told it's several $100 million, maybe close to $1 billion. How many U.S. flagged commercial ships have transited the Red Sea since your so-called successful operation?
Well, thankfully, unlike the previous administration.
The answer is zero.
military vessels transit.
No, I didn't ask
just
about
this
military
week.
vessels. I
Well, which
asked
would
about
be the
commercial
precursor
vessels.
for
How many
civilian and
commercial vessels? It's been
transit.
several weeks. How many commercial vessels, U.S. flagged, have
Well,
transited the
would
Red
you,
Sea?
Mr. Congressman, put civilian ships
The
through
questions
dam
are not to
before
me,
military
Mr. Secretary,
ships?
they're to you.
We have responsibly put military
The answer is
ships
zero.
through first.
I reclaim my time. How many generals and admirals have you fired?
I don't know the exact number, but
You don't know the number. It's 8. Can you explain why any of them were fired? Like, just explain, why was...
they all serve at the pleasure of the president, and I think
No, I'm just asking you why.
General Kane is a great example
I'm just
of
asking
a
you
leader
why.
that we
And
need
you
at
probably
this
learned
time.
at Princeton what why means. Why did you fire him?
They serve at the pleasure of the president, and we want
Why
better
did you
representation
fire
in
him?
each and every of those.
You can't
and every
explain why
one
you
of those
fired any of
places.
them?
Gentleman's time's expired. Chair, and I
Moulton began with a direct question about a message that reportedly included the launch time for F-18 fighter jets heading into combat against Houthi targets. He asked whether that information had originated from Central Command and whether it had been transmitted on a classified system as required by Department of Defense rules. The congressman's point was simple. If the military sent the data with a classification marking, placing it on signal would represent a serious breach of protocol. Hegseth refused to give a straight answer. He argued that any communication from the Secretary of Defense is inherently classified and therefore could not be discussed in a public hearing. That response only intensified the pressure. Moulton reminded him that regulations require classified material to be clearly labeled and that acknowledging whether something was classified is not itself classified. The back and forth exposed a core issue. Either the information was sensitive and mishandled, or the administration was attempting to downplay the severity of the leak. The exchange highlighted a larger debate about accountability in Washington. Hegseth has repeatedly said that accountability is back in the Pentagon, yet when asked whether that standard applied to him if the Inspector General confirms wrongdoing, he avoided committing to any consequences. Instead, he pivoted to praising the success of the military strike on the Houthis. For Moulton, that was not the point. Oversight is not about celebrating victories, it is about ensuring the rules meant to protect service members and national secrets are followed. The conversation then shifted to the cost of the operation. Estimates suggest the missile strikes may have run into hundreds of millions of dollars, possibly close to $1 billion. Moulton pressed the secretary on whether the campaign had actually restored commercial shipping through the Red Sea. The answer, by the Pentagon's own admission, was 0 U.S.-flagged commercial vessels have returned. That raised uncomfortable questions about whether the expensive show of force achieved its strategic goal. Another flashpoint came when Moulton asked how many generals and admirals had been fired since Hegseth took office. The secretary said he did not know the number, even though reports place it at 8. When asked to explain the reasons for any of those dismissals, Hegseth again relied on the phrase that they serve at the pleasure of the president. To critics, that sounded less like reform and more like political purging without clear justification. What this hearing revealed is a widening gap between Congress and the Pentagon over transparency. Lawmakers from both parties worry that casual use of consumer apps for war planning could put lives at risk. Military communication systems exist for a reason. They are designed to prevent exactly this kind of exposure. Experts note that even a single data point like a launch time can help adversaries map tactics and vulnerabilities. The signal scandal has also reignited concerns about the culture inside the Department of Defense. Former officials say senior leaders are trained for years on handling classified material, and mistakes at that level are almost unheard of. That is why the Inspector General investigation will be critical. If it confirms that classified information was shared improperly, pressure for resignations could become overwhelming. For ordinary Americans, the argument may sound technical, but the stakes are real. These decisions affect sailors in the Red Sea, pilots flying into hostile airspace, and taxpayers funding the missions. Oversight hearings like this are meant to bridge the gap between secret war rooms and public accountability. Whether that bridge is holding is now an open question. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss updates on this developing story.